With Judge Arun Subramanian trying his best to wrangle jurors like he's herding caffeinated cats, one confused juror threw a wrench in the gears on Monday, just hours into deliberations. Meanwhile, Diddy is sitting calmly at the defense table reading The Power of Positive Thinking, which, let's be real, he's gonna need in heavy doses if this verdict doesn't go his way. So buckle up, grab your popcorn, and let's unravel the wild twists and turns of this 7-week courtroom circus featuring high-stakes charges, unsupervised jurors, and questions about, wait for it, handing out controlled substances like it's party favors at a bad boy reunion tour. Jury deliberations in the Diddy federal trial hit a pothole early Monday morning, and not the kind you just swerve around. We're talking full-on confusion, mixed signals, and notes flying back and forth like middle school love letters. It all began when one of the 12 jurors, bless their overwhelmed heart, had a tough time understanding Judge Arun Subramanian's instructions. You'd think after 7 weeks of testimony they'd be ready for anything, but apparently no. Jury duty in a celebrity trial? Not as glamorous as it sounds. The judge had barely finished laying down his long-winded legal guidelines before the jurors were back with 2 notes in under 6 hours. That's faster communication than most of us get from our group chats. The first note said basically, hey judge, one of us doesn't get it. Not exactly reassuring when a person's fate is hanging in the balance. Judge Subramanian huddled with the lawyers and after some back and forth, decided to go with the prosecution's suggested reply. It was polite but clearly saying, get it together folks, you've got a job to do. They reminded the jurors to follow the instructions and oh yes, please stop oversharing in your notes. This is court, not Reddit. Now here's where it gets spicy. Legal eagle David Seltzer popped in like a courtroom fairy godfather and told the news that this whole mess could have been avoided. How? Sequestration. Yep. Locking the jurors away from TikTok, the news, and the temptation to Google what's the difference between racketeering and rock climbing. Seltzer was blunt. People are glued to their phones like they're oxygen tanks. Expecting them to unplug for over 6 weeks is like expecting a cat to follow directions. Honestly, facts. He added that the court's reliance on daily reminders to not scroll is about as effective as telling toddlers not to touch candy. Spoiler alert, they touched the candy. Meanwhile, in the deliberation room, things weren't exactly moving at lightning speed. Aside from juror getting confused, the group also sent another note later in the day. This time, asking one of the most oddly specific questions to hit a courtroom in recent memory. If a person asks for a controlled substance and someone hands it over, does that count as distribution? Cue the collective gasp from everyone in the courtroom, including the cleaning staff. The judge was like, interesting question. You'll get your answer tomorrow. And just like that, Tuesday suddenly became a much bigger day. Paul Darahanesian, another legal expert, chimed in from Albany with a big sigh and said courts just don't like sequestering jurors anymore. Apparently, it's too much of a hassle, but he reminded everyone that high-profile trials like Casey Anthony and O.J. Simpson did use sequestration, and those were wild rides in their own right. He said without sequestration, jurors are like open windows in a storm. Anything from the internet can blow in and influence them. Over in LA, litigator John J. Perlstein added some cold water to the fire by basically saying, let's be honest, we all know jurors peek at Google. Pretending otherwise is just cute. He argued that daily instructions are enough, and unless jurors are literally in danger, locking them away isn't necessary. But let's be real. Expecting total discipline in the digital age is like asking someone to walk past a Krispy Kreme sign with the hot light on and not stop. Not happening. And what about Diddy during all this chaos? He stayed in court for about 20 minutes after the judge delivered the prosecution-approved letter. He chilled at the defense table with his lawyers, probably wondering how long this would go on. As he left the room, he held up not one but 2 books like a motivational speaker on a world tour. The Power of Positive Thinking, The Happiness Advantage. Now that's a mood. If you're facing the possibility of life in prison, it doesn't hurt to get some tips from the self-help section. But I don't think that will help him. Let's not forget, the jury of 8 men and 4 women were given the task of deciding Diddy's fate around 11:30 a.m. after receiving enough legal instructions to make a law school syllabus jealous. They have to determine whether Diddy is guilty of racketeering, 2 counts related to trafficking, and 2 counts of interstate transport for unlawful purposes. That's a heavy list. If convicted, Diddy's looking at a minimum of 15 years and possibly life behind bars. So yes, confusion in the jury room is a pretty big deal. The prosecution wrapped their closing arguments last Thursday with a big emphasis on Diddy being the alleged head honcho of a criminal operation, supported by over 30 witnesses. That's more people than show up at most family reunions. On Friday, Diddy's lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, clapped back, saying this whole case was basically a government hit job. According to the defense, the evidence didn't prove guilt. It proved bias. And throughout all of this, Diddy continues to insist he's innocent. The music mogul might be sitting in silence, but his legal team is singing his praises louder than a choir on Easter Sunday. Okay, let's talk about this circus for a second, shall we? First off, I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you're sitting on a federal jury, possibly deciding if someone goes to prison for life, and you're confused about the judge's instructions, say that louder, sooner, and to a therapist. I mean, seriously, how are we living in a world where a juror in a high-profile trial is basically like, I don't get it. Imagine being Diddy sitting there holding power of positive thinking like a shield when it should be guilt, while juror number 9 is trying to figure out what reasonable doubt even means. And let's just address the elephant in the courtroom. Why in the name of all that is legal were these jurors not sequestered? I get it. It's 2025. We're all addicted to our phones. TikTok is basically oxygen. And news spreads faster than drama in a high school cafeteria. But some people don't read anything about the biggest celebrity trial of the year. It's like giving someone a giant red button and saying, whatever you do, don't press this. Of course they're gonna press it. And then there's the note. If a person hands someone a controlled substance, is that distribution? Wait, what? This is not a high school health class. This is federal court. Who asked that question? Like, is the jury reenacting party scenes in their heads to figure out the verdict? Somebody please stop the madness. Also, Diddy just sitting at the defense table like a motivational speaker about to do a TED Talk, holding up 2 books like he's Oprah's book club meets Law and Order. I mean, the happiness advantage? Sir, the only advantage you're looking for right now is a not guilty verdict. Let's be real. And what's up with these legal experts casually sliding in and saying, oh yeah, sequestering is rare now? Hello? So we just letting jurors go home and binge YouTube conspiracies and Reddit threads about the case during trial week. Might as well let them take the witness stand too. Let me tell y'all something. If this trial ends in a hung jury because one person spent the entire deliberation confused, distracted, and possibly scrolling Twitter, I'm gonna need somebody to be held accountable. Let me repeat myself again. I'm gonna need somebody to be held accountable. At this point, this trial is giving more plot twists than a Shonda Rhimes series. And if you're telling me that after all these 30 plus witnesses, all these weeks in court, and all the taxpayer dollars, we might end up with a let's try this again next year, I'm throwing my snack tray out the window. Final thought. If the jury gets this wrong because they weren't locked away from the world with nothing but cold sandwiches and uncomfortable chairs, then this will go down as one of the messiest, most avoidable courtroom blunders of the decade. But until then, I'll just be here, watching Diddy read self-help books like he's manifesting freedom with every turn of the page. This case is far from over, folks. And if this jury doesn't shape up fast, we might be seeing a whole new trial in season 2 of The People vs. Diddy. And there you have it, folks. Confused jurors, courtroom post-it notes, and Diddy trying to manifest happiness with a self-help library in his hands. If this trial doesn't get turned into a docuseries or limited-run Netflix show, then Hollywood is missing out. It's got everything. Celebrities, legal drama, awkward jurors, and just enough chaos to keep us all watching. Thanks for hanging out with me here on Extra Hot Topic. If you want to stay updated on this case or more celebrity courtroom sagas, hit that like, subscribe, and smash that bell icon so you never miss a spill. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the jury will reach a verdict, or are we headed straight for a hung jury? Until next time, stay messy, stay curious, and stay extra.